in 6 days. After God created the earth, it was dark and empty, and nothing had been formed in it. But God's Spirit was there over the water. Then God said, "Let there be light." And there was light. God saw that the light was good, and called it day. He separated it from the darkness, which he called night. God created the light on the first day of creation. On the second day of creation, God spoke and created the sky above the earth. He made the sky by separating the water above from the water below. On the third day, God spoke and separated the water from the dry land. He called the dry land earth, and he called the water seas. God saw that what he had created was good. Then God said, "Let the earth produce all kinds of trees and plants." And that is what happened. God saw that what he had created was good. On the fourth day of creation, God spoke and made the sun, the moon, and the stars. God made them to give light to the earth, and to mark day and night, seasons and years. God saw that what he had created was good. On the fifth day, God spoke and made everything that swims in the water and all the birds. God saw that it was good, and he blessed them. On the sixth day of creation, God said, "Let there be all kinds of land animals." And it happened, just like God said. Some were farm animals, some crawled on the ground, and some were wild. And God saw that it was good. Then God said, "Let us make human beings in our image, to be like us. They will have authority over the earth and all the animals." So God took some dirt, formed it into a man, and breathed life into him. This man's name was Adam. God planted a garden where Adam could live and put him there to care for it. In the middle of the garden, God planted two special trees, the tree of life and the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. God told Adam that he could eat from any tree in the garden except from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. If he ate from this tree, he would die. Then God said, "It is not good for man to be alone," but none of the animals could be Adam's helper. So God made Adam fall into a deep sleep. Then God took one of Adam's ribs and made it into a woman and brought her to him. When Adam saw her, he said, "At last, this one is like me. Let her be called woman, for she was made from man." This is why a man leaves his father and mother and becomes one with his wife. God made man and woman in his own image. He blessed them and told them, "Have many children and grandchildren, and fill the earth." And God saw that everything he had made was very good, and he was very pleased with all of it. This all happened on the sixth day of creation. When the seventh day came, God had finished his work. So God rested from all he had been doing. He blessed the seventh day and made it holy, because on this day he rested from his work. This is how God created the universe and everything in it. Story number 2. Sin enters the world. Adam and his wife were very happy living in the beautiful garden God had made for them. Neither of them wore clothes, but this did not cause them to feel any shame, because there was no sin in the world. They often walked in the garden and talked with God. But there was a crafty snake in the garden. He asked the woman, "Did God really tell you not to eat the fruit from any of the trees in the garden?" The woman answered, "God told us we could eat the fruit of any tree except from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. God told us, If you eat that fruit, or even touch it, you will die." The snake responded to the woman, "That is not true. You will not die. God just knows that as soon as you eat it, you will be like God and will understand good and evil, like He does." The woman saw that the fruit was beautiful and looked delicious. She also wanted to be wise, so she picked some of the fruit and ate it. Then she gave some to her husband, who was with her, and he ate it too. Suddenly, their eyes were opened, and they realized they were naked. They tried to cover their bodies by sewing leaves together to make clothes. Then the man and his wife heard the sound of God walking through the garden. They both hid from God. Then God called to the man, "Where are you?" Adam replied, "I heard you walking in the garden, and I was afraid because I was naked, so I hid." Then God asked, "Who told you that you were naked? Did you eat the fruit I told you not to eat?" The man answered, "You gave me this woman, and she gave me the fruit." Then God asked the woman, "What have you done?" The woman replied, "The snake tricked me." God said to the snake, "You are cursed. You will slide on your belly and eat dirt. You and the woman will hate each other, and your children and her children will hate each other too. The woman's descendant will crush your head, and you will wound his heel." God then said to the woman, "I will make childbirth very painful for you. You will desire your husband, and he will rule over you." God said to the man, "You listened to your wife and disobeyed me. Now the ground is cursed, and you will need to work hard to grow food. Then you will die, and your body will return to dirt." The man named his wife Eve, which means life giver, because she would become the mother of all people. And God clothed Adam and Eve with animal skins. Then God said, "Now that the human beings have become like us by knowing good and evil, they must not be allowed to eat the fruit of the tree of life and live forever." So God sent Adam and Eve away from the beautiful garden. God placed powerful angels at the entrance to the garden to keep anyone from eating the fruit of the tree of life. Story number 3, the flood. After a long time, many people were living in the world. They had become very wicked and violent. It became so bad that God decided to destroy the whole world with a huge flood. But Noah found favor with God. He was a righteous man living among wicked people. God told Noah about the flood he was planning to send. He told Noah to build a huge boat. God told Noah to make the boat about 140 meters long, 23 meters wide, and 13.5 meters high. Noah was to build it with wood and to make 3 levels, many rooms, a roof, and a window. The boat would keep Noah, his family, and every kind of land animal safe during the flood. Noah obeyed God. He and his 3 sons built the boat just the way God had told them. It took many years to build the boat because it was so big. Noah warned commanded Noah and his family to gather enough food for themselves and the animals. When everything was ready, God told Noah it was time for him, his wife, his 3 sons, and their wives to get into the boat, 8 people in all. God sent a male and a female of every animal and bird to Noah, so they could go into the boat and be kept safe during the flood. God sent 7 males and 7 females of every type of animal that could be used for sacrifices. When they were all in the boat, God himself closed the door. Then it began to rain, and rain, and rain. It rained for 40 days, except the people and animals that were in the boat. The boat floated on the water and kept everything inside the boat safe from drowning. After the rains stopped, the boat floated on the water for 5 months, and during this time, the water started going down. Then one day the boat rested on the top of a mountain, but the world was still covered with water. After 3 more months, the tops of the mountains were visible. After 40 more days, Noah sent out a bird called a raven to see if the water had dried up. The raven flew back and forth, looking for dry land, but it could not find any. Later, Noah sent out a bird called a dove, but it also could not find any dry land, so it came back to Noah. A week later, he sent the dove out again, and it came back with an olive branch in its beak. The water was going down, and the plants were growing again. Noah waited another week and sent out the dove a 3rd time. This time it found a place to rest and did not come back. The water was drying up. 2 months later, God said to Noah, "You and your family and all the animals may leave the boat now. Have many children and grandchildren and fill the earth." So Noah and his family came out of the boat. After Noah got off the boat, he built an altar and sacrificed some of each kind of animal that could be used for a sacrifice. God was happy with the sacrifice and blessed Noah and his family. God said, "I promise I will never again curse the ground because of the evil things that people do, or destroy the world by causing a flood, even though people are sinful from the time they are children." God then made the first rainbow as a sign of his promise. Every time the rainbow appeared in the sky, God would remember what he promised, and so would his people. Story number 4. God's covenant with Abraham. Many years after the flood, there were again many people in the world, and they all spoke the same language. Instead of filling the earth as God had commanded, they gathered together and built a city. They were very proud, and they did not care about what God said. They even began building a tall tower to reach heaven. God saw that if they all kept working together to do evil, they could do many more sinful things. So God changed their language into many different languages and spread the people out all over the world. The city they had begun to build was called Babel, which means confused. Hundreds of years later, God spoke to a man named Abram. God told him, "Leave your country and family and go to the land I will show you. I will bless you and make you a great nation. I will make your
Amen.
name great. I will bless those who bless you and curse those who curse you. All families on earth will be blessed because of you." So Abram obeyed God. He took his wife Sarai, together with all of his servants and everything he owned, and went to the land God showed him, the land of Canaan. When Abram arrived in Canaan, God said, "Look all around you. I will give to you and your descendants all the land that you can see as an inheritance." Then Abram settled in the land. One day Abram met Melchizedek, the priest of God Most High. Melchizedek blessed Abram and said, "May God Most High, who owns heaven and earth, bless Abram." Then Abram gave Melchizedek 1/10 of all he owned. Many years went by, but Abram and Sarai still did not have a son. God spoke to Abram and promised again that he would have a son and as many descendants as the stars in the sky. Abram believed God's promise. God declared that Abram was righteous because he believed in God. I give the land of Canaan to your descendants. But Abram still did not have a son. Story number 5. The Son of Promise. 10 years after Abram and Sarai arrived in Canaan, they still did not have a child. So Abram's wife Sarai said to him, "Since God has not allowed me to have children, and now I am too old to have children, here is my servant Hagar. Marry her also, so she can have a child for me." So Abram married Hagar. Hagar had a baby boy, and Abram named him Ishmael. But Sarai became jealous of Hagar. When Ishmael was 13 years old, God again spoke to Abram. God said, told Abram, "You will be the father of many nations. I will give you and your descendants the land of Canaan as their possession, and I will be their God forever. You must circumcise every male in your family. Your wife Sarai will have a son. He will be the son of promise. Name him Isaac. I will make my covenant with him, and he will become a great nation. I will make Ishmael a great nation too, but my covenant will be with Isaac." Then God changed Abram's name to Abraham, which means father of many. God also changed Sarai's name to Sarah, which means princess to do. When Isaac was a young man, God tested Abraham's faith by saying, "Take Isaac, your only son, and kill him as a sacrifice to me." Again, Abraham obeyed God and prepared to sacrifice his son. As Abraham and Isaac walked to the place of sacrifice, Isaac asked, "Father, we have wood for the sacrifice, but where is it? Now I know that you fear me because you did not keep your only son from me." Nearby, Abraham saw a ram that was stuck in a bush. God had provided the ram to be the sacrifice instead of Isaac. Abraham happily offered the ram as a sacrifice. Then God said to Abraham, "Because you..." Story number 6. God provides for Isaac. When Abraham was very old, his son Isaac, grown to be Abraham's relatives, lived. God led the servant to Rebekah. She was the granddaughter of Abraham's brother. Rebekah agreed to leave her family and go back with the servant to Isaac's home. Isaac married her as soon as she arrived. After a long time, Abraham died, and all the promises that God had made to him in the covenant were passed on to Isaac. God had promised that Abraham would have countless descendants, but Isaac's wife Rebekah could not have children. Isaac prayed for Rebekah, and God allowed her to get pregnant with twins. The two babies struggled with each other while they were still in Rebekah's womb. So Rebekah asked God what was happening, came out holding on to Esau's heel, and they named him Jacob. Esau loved to hunt. Rebekah loved Jacob, but Isaac loved Esau. One day, when Esau came back from hunting, he was very hungry. Esau said to Jacob, "Please, give me some of the food you have made." Jacob responded, "First, give me your rights as the oldest son." So Esau gave thing to Esau. But before he did, Rebekah and Jacob tricked him by having Jacob pretend to be Esau. Isaac was old and could know. Jacob came to Isaac and said, I am Esau. I have come so that you can bless me." When Isaac felt the goat hair and smelled the clothes, he thought it was Esau and blessed him. Esau hated Jacob because Jacob had stolen his rights as oldest son and also his blessing. So he planned to kill Jacob, lived with Rebekah's relatives for many years. During that time, he married and had 12 sons and a daughter. God made him very